We talked about Yiddish, so and I don't know if you have anything on this. If you don't, we'll just cut this out. But Ladino words, are there any Ladino words that you know about in modern Hebrew? Because that's the
There are
other
some.
common
Okay.
language, right?
Do you want to say something about Ladino?
Please, you say it about Ladino.
Ladino is what is usually, we use the word Ladino to refer to Judeo-Spanish. We said before, if you remember an hour ago, we said that
In the previous episode.
in the previous episode,
Yeah.
we said that in each area where Jews were living, they spoke a variety of the local language that was like the Jewish variety, somewhat different from the other language, the language of the Gentiles, but obviously very similar to that language, local language. So in Spain, there was a Judeo-Spanish. Likely there were several Judeo-Spanishes because Spain itself had different languages spoken in it, all descended from Latin, from Vulgar Latin. Now, in 1492, the year that Columbus sailed the ocean blue, also the same people who sent Columbus on their way also sent the Jews of Spain on their way and said, essentially, either you convert to Christianity and join us in the party, or you can leave. Many converted, many left, and those people who left, they took their language with them and settled in all kinds of places, in Northern Africa, in Turkey, in the Balkans, and what's today Greece, and throughout like the Arab-speaking world. Now, these people were somewhat like better well off than they were cultured and often looked down on their lowly neighbors and didn't always mix with them. And they preserved their language. And this language still exists to this day. Almost. There are some native speakers. It's likely that the language will die off as a spoken native language. Maybe it just did. I don't know. But we're at the end of that hundreds of years long story. Now, a big part of the community, say at the time of World War II broke out, there were major concentrations of people speaking this Ladino around the world. The city of Saloniki, which is one of the biggest cities in Greece, maybe it was the second biggest city in Greece. It's a major port in northern Greece.
And for the Christians, that's where Paul says letter to the Thessalonians. That's Saloniki, Thessalonia. So Thessalonica in ancient times.
So this is a major important city, and most of the most spoken, the most common language in that city was Ladino. Like
more than Greek, you're saying?
More than Greek, yeah.
That I didn't know. Okay.
Most of the people there were Jewish, and they spoke Ladino. That was the community that lived there, and it was a giant community. And unfortunately, that community does not exist because, similar to what happened to Ashkenazi Jews in Yiddish, those people either were murdered in the Holocaust or made their way to Palestine and took on modern Hebrew. Now, we said before, there were a lot more Ashkenazim than there were Sephardim people. There's something interesting about the fact that we call people Sephardim. Those
which means Spanish.
Right? Farad is Spain in Hebrew.
Right.
It really is a biblical word referring to somewhere that we don't know, but somewhere in the some point in the Middle Ages, Jews began referring to Spain as Farad. The same thing happened with Tzarfat in France, and that is the Hebrew word for Spain and France. So anyways, those people who migrated from Spain and to the Arab world, they became very important people in their communities. The communities adopted their way of doing things. In the synagogue, they founded their own synagogue. So when we say that somebody is Faradi, we're saying that they're like Spanish. But it's not that all these people were really descended from the people that were thrown out of Spain. It's that the community, the local communities, because these were the better folk. So the community, the local communities that already lived in those areas, they assimilated into the Sephardic community, the Spanish, communities of the descendants of the people who left from Spain. So
So
everyone,
just so I understand, so there was a bunch of Jews, let's say, who left from Spain when they were expelled in 1492, and let's say, I don't know, they came to Tunis in North Africa, and they become the dominant force in Tunisian Judaism. That's what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. There were Jews in
Okay.
Tunisia from antiquity in
Probably
Roman
from
times,
Phoenician times, even maybe. Who knows?
possibly, but we definitely in Roman times there were Jews
Okay.
there. And likely there were Jews there throughout that time, all the way till I think there might be a few still today. But they consider themselves and they pray in the Sephardic tradition, and they might think of themselves as Sephardic, Sfaradim,
Mhm.
because the people who settled during the expulsion from Spain and settled there, those were like the people you wanted to, the important people. They became the important people in the community, and they like exerted their influence in a way that um, because they settled in the cities. Once again, there's people living in like the mountains, and like uneducated people. The people who came from Spain knew how to read and write. It was like that kind of imbalance. So,
Okay.
so this happened. We can now call all those people from the Arab world, except for the Yemenites,
Mhm.
because well, I guess also Ethiopian Jews. Um, so the Sephardic expats didn't make it all the way to Yemen, and Yemen was disconnected from the Jewish community of Yemen was disconnected from the rest of the Jewish world from the time of Maimonides until the modern period. So not them, but everyone else are considered Sephardic because those people mixed into that community, those communities, very different communities, far away communities.
Mhm. So how did those words then end up in modern, or what are some examples of Sephardic words, meaning Ladino words, that end
Okay,
up into modern Hebrew?
so once again, there's very few.
Hmm.
The influence of Ladino on Hebrew is small because once again, the people who did found the language and the Jewish
Hmm.
community in Palestine, which would become Israel, were
Hmm.
mostly Ashkenazi Jews. So there's more
Hmm.
Yiddish influence in Ladino, but you can find a little.
Hmm.
One of those is a pile of money, like a wad of cash. In
Hmm.
Hebrew is a stefa. eh,
Defa. Okay.
Stefa.
All right.
This is a slangy term. That word comes from Ladino
Hmm.
and originally from Greek, Turkish.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
so it doesn't come all the way from Spain,
Hmm.
because for the hundreds of years that Ladino speakers lived in Saloniki and other
Hmm.
areas of Greece, they also, in the Balkans, they
Hmm.
adopted many Turkish and Greek words. If we want a word that goes all the way back to actual Spanish and to
Yeah.
Latin, so you can say, this is a very slangy word, something that's really of poor quality, like
Hmm.
it sucks. I don't know. You
Okay.
could say it's democulo,
Okay.
which is comes from a archaic form of Spanish that was the meaning
Hmm.
from the ass, like from the your behind, your
Okay.
rear end.
All right.
So that came all the way from Spanish to the
Huh.
Ladino to Hebrew.
Okay. Wow. I read somewhere that Ben Yehuda's wife coined the word Chanukia, and she claimed that she had heard Ladino speakers use it, and that iya ending is really not common in modern Hebrew, not in that sense, right? And so that's interesting. There you have a word that obviously has a Hebrew origin, Chanukah, right?
Mhm.
But then this particular formation of it supposedly comes from Ladino, which is I don't know if that's true, but that's what she claimed.
Maybe.
Um, and then they may have been using it for centuries in the Ladino world.